Hi, Joe here from Shutter Speak Photography. Very nice to see your smiling face again here on YouTube. So hey, recently I got an email from a company called Retouch for Me. They make a series of AI-based plugins, and they have a really solid set of portrait retouching programs. But I mean, portrait retouching is a very crowded field, right? You have Portrait Pro and Luminar Neo and On One and all these other programs that have retouching built in one form or another, some better than others. And so it's such a crowded marketplace. I was a little curious to see how these kind of stood out from that crowd. So happy Star Trek Day. Let's get that out of the way. Yes, today is Star Trek Day. So what I did was, I grabbed my tricorder and I put it to use checking out this plugin. And I wanted to see what it could do. Like I said, that just, kind of is a standout. And I have to say, I was really, really impressed. And again, it's a series of plugins. And when you apply them and you apply them in the proper order, it's just like it's like a wow. And it's a bit of a short video just because they work so darn fast and they're so intuitive, and really there's not a lot of sliders or anything to play around with. They are AI based and they kind of just nail it every time. So, but I do want to demonstrate them to you so you can just see how cool these are, and hey, maybe it's something that's right for you. So let's take a look. Okay, so we are here in Photoshop and we have our beautiful model up on the screen, but we want to go for a kind of high-end fashion magazine style retouching on this photo. Now it is important to note that these filters work in Lightroom, Photoshop, and Capture One, so if you have any of those programs, these are going to work for you. I'm going to apply a series of plugins from their set of offerings, and you don't have to apply all of them, but applying all of them and particularly in order really does have a great effect. But I'll show you some of the ones that kind of make a bigger difference to me and the ones that don't. But again, applying them all in order kind of really does an amazing job. And this can all be done with one click, by the way. But I want to show you what each plugin does. So first step, let's use Control or Command J and duplicate our layer. There we go. And I'm going to rasterize this layer as well because we don't need it to be a smart object. There we go. And that'll just make things a little quicker for us. So first thing is, let's take a look at this image and see what we actually need to do. So let's take a look at our model. And again, we want to do some high-end magazine retouching. So we want to do some healing to the skin to clean a few things up. But of course, we don't want it to look unrealistic. We don't want it to look airbrushed. We want to be able to keep the pores and things like that of the skin. So first things I'm going to use is Heal. So let's go into Retouch for Me, Heal, and let's let that run. And we'll see what it does for us. Okay, here it goes. All right, so it's finished up. And let's take a look. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's even go in a little closer. And you can see it's very subtle, right? You still see all the pores on the skin, but let's look at the original. See all the defects that it removed? And I hate to say defects, but that's what they call it. All right, so it just removed all of those little distracting marks, but it did it in a way that's kind of keeping all the natural skin tone so that she still looks like a real person, right? So let's just apply this because I am happy with this. Now, I do want to say there is a sensitivity slider here. We can brush in areas, we can erase areas, and we can invert the mask as well. If we scroll down with the sensitivity, you'll see how it cleans up more or less. I think it did a great job, so let's hit apply. All right, and we're gonna, maybe I missed that button there. Apply, there we go. Yep, got it that time. And now it'll apply it to our layer, and there we go. So now let's just take a look at before and after, and we can toggle off and on this layer. And if it was too much, we could even bring the opacity of this layer down, right? So that's kind of nice. So we have a lot of nice control over this, right? But I think it looks great just the way it is. So I'm going to Control-Alt-Shift-E and make another layer for us to work on. Okay. And so now what I want to do is I'm going to do a little dodge and burning. Now, of course, we could dodge and burn by hand, but they have an AI filter for that. So let's give it a try. So we're going to go down, same thing, retouch for me, dodge and burn. And let's just give it a second, and then we'll give this a run. All right, so there it goes. Okay, so there it goes, and it has completed. It's analyzed the photo and made its changes. So let's take a look at the original. Actually, let's zoom in a little bit so we can see the face a little better. There's the original and the dodge and burn, and look how it's evened out all those shadows, and it's done a really nice job adding some depth and dimension to the face. So, and it also has affected these other skin areas, which is nice. All right, so it did a really nice job here. And again, you can blend this one way or the other, a little bit more, a little bit less, but honestly, it kind of nails it, right? We can make it a little warmer if we wanted to. But again, it does a real nice job. You can brush in areas that you wanted. You can erase areas. And again, of course, you can invert the mask. And if it didn't detect the person properly, you can change what it is selecting here. But it just kind of nails it out of the box. And I'm kind of happy with it just like that. And hopefully you agree as well. And do notice the skin tone is all still intact. Still looks like a real person. So we're going to apply that. And let's take a look at how that changes things. So there we go. Now what we need to do is just change this layer to soft light, and we can change this layer name to dodge and burn. So we know what we have there, and let's take a look. On and off. There's the after. There's the before. And let's take a look at so far how we've done, right? So just with these two plugins, this was our original photo. And now with the two plugins applied. So next we can apply a skin tone. Now I kind of find this next plugin to be kind of an optional because it may affect some of the makeup. But it does do a nice job. So let's apply the skin tone filter. Okay, so I need to make a new layer for the next plugin to work in. So I'm going to do a Control or Command Alt Shift E. Oops, make sure I have my layers. Control Alt Shift E. And there we go. Now we have a new layer to work on. And this is just a combination of the three layers below. So I just basically made a stamp of these three layers. And now we're going to go in and we're going to run this skin tone filter. And skin tone. And let's give this a run. And it's analyzing and working its magic. And there it goes. Okay, so, and you see I have this box up here checked that says soft light layer. I could uncheck that or check it, but by doing that, basically what it's doing is it is creating a soft light layer in Photoshop. And let's zoom right in here and take a look. And let's look at the original. So basically what it's done is it's evened out the skin tones, but you do notice that it has removed the blush on the cheeks, but it does kind of even out all the skin tones. There was some orange, especially in this area, you'll see there, and that's been evened out to a nice, very pleasing skin tone. Okay, and of course we still have the options to blend and paint and erase, but I'm going to be good with this just the way it is. I'm going to apply it. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to fix the makeup. All right, so it does come in like that, right? So let's fit the screen here, right? And of course, again, we need to change this to a soft light layer. And once we do, we are good to go. And we'll call this one skin tone. Now I do want to fix that makeup. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make a mask. And I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to paint in with black right on the skin area where the blush was. Let's slowly color that back in right there. right on the cheeks. And I'm using a very light setting here. You see I'm at 28% with a flow of 24, just to very slowly bring this in. And let's just take a look. Oops, wrong one. There we go. So that is before, and now there's the blush back. See, by turning the mask on and off, we can see how we put the blush back onto the model. So that looks good. So I'm happy with that. So now let's take a look again at the very beginning where we started and where we are now. All right, so again, same thing, Control-Alt-Shift-E, and we'll make a new layer. And now from here, I'm going to run a plugin called Portrait Volume. Okay, so let's give that a shot and see what that does for our photograph. Retouch for me, Portrait Volumes, and let's let this run, and we'll see it kind of work its magic. And you'll see it quickly processing our photo. And let's zoom in. So we were there, and now we're here. And you see how it has given more depth and dimension. Look how it's created this shadow around the hat. And you see now we're going more from a 2D to more of almost a 3D photo. Almost feels like it has more depth now. Okay, so, and again, we can blend this back. We can brush in and erase. And I kind of prefer to send it in. You know, I think that it's fine the way it is, but I can scale this back with the layer, and I'll have a little more control, I think, that way. So I think I'd rather go a little bit over in the plugin and then scale it back using the opacity slider in Photoshop. So let's apply this, and then we'll see how it looks. And again, same thing, we're going to change our layer to soft light, and we're going to name this volume. All right, now let's take a look and see what it did for us. That's without it. That's with it. Look at the dimension that it has given this portrait. So if I felt like it was too much, I could just go to the opacity slider and maybe dial it back to, say, 80%, 82. And there we go. And I might leave it like that, right around 82%. That looks pretty good. And now the last step, again, and this is a very optional one, is to soften up and clean up the background. So if there was any defects in the background, and there are no defects in the background really in this. It's pretty straightforward. Let's look at this. Okay, so there's the whole picture. But I'm going to run it anyway, and I'm just going to show you what it does. It's just going to soften up this background a little bit, and actually I think it kind of works nice. So let's go to Filter. Oops, I'm sorry. First I need to make a new layer, so Control-Alt-Shift-E, make another layer, and then we're going to go over to Filter. Retouch for me, and let's go to Clean Backdrop. And again, it's going to work its magic here, and it's just going to soften up those lines so they're a little less distracting, but overall it's going to do a nice job. And there it goes. It's running very quickly, as you can see. All right, let's open this up bigger, and let's look at the original and the new version. Now, so there's the original, and really it's just softened up those lines so they're less distracting. They're still there, but they're just not as prominent now, and I'm real happy with that. So again, I'm just going to apply this, and we're going to just name this back around, and without and with just softens everything up. It's still there. We can still see the lines. It's still got that visual interest. So let's take a look at where we started. Okay. This was with none of the plugins applied. And this is our finished product. And it just does an amazing job. Now, if we really look at this, you'll see all the skin tone is still there. She's still a person, right? Still looks like a human being. You know, she doesn't look like she's been spray painted or airbrushed, right? All the skin texture and the pores are still there. It just does a wonderful job. The only thing I might go in and clean up is maybe this little spot right there, right? So maybe with this, I would just go in Control-Alt-Shift-E again, and now I'll just go in and clean up that spot, and that did a lousy job. See that? So you never know. Sometimes let's try the healing tool, and we'll define a point for it to pick from, and see that's going to be a little bit of a tough one for it. So let's go down nice and small, and there we go. So that looks great. So let's go back to fit screen, and there we go. And just like that, it is done, and it looks amazing. I think it just did an absolutely incredible job. So let's take a look one at a time and see how it did. Okay, so here's our heel, and actually let's label this heel so you can see step by step. So heel, dodge and burn, which makes it, you know, a pretty substantial change. And if you were going to get one, this might be the one I would suggest. Skin tone, portrait volume, and again, this is another one too that does an amazing job. Hard to tell, dodge and burn or portrait volume. And now the background, and then our final product there. Let me show you how to do all of this in a single click. All right, so I'm just going to go and I'm going to revert this image back to the original. Now I'm going to use the plugin panel, and you see I have heel, dodge and burn, skin tone, portrait volume, and clean backdrop all selected on this panel. I just have to hit run. Can you believe that? And it's going to work its magic, and we'll take a look at the before and after in just a second. Okay, and it's finished up running, and look at that. One click. One click. The only thing we'd have to do at this point was just go back in here and clean up this one spot that we had cleaned up earlier. But honestly, in just one click, the entire process is done. And look, it made all the layers for us, and it named them. Right, so our heel, dodge and burn, skin tone, portrait volumes, and clean backdrop. You can Control-Alt-Shift-E to make a new layer. And from here, I can just go right in, and we can clean up this one spot. I might have gone a little too far, but maybe right there. And let's zoom back out to fit screen, and we're done. Just like that, one click. Is that amazing or what? Let's try it on a different photo. All right, with this photo, we're going to skip right to the chase here. We're going to do the one-click option. Let's hit run, and let's see how it does on this photo. And of course, you know, you can do all of these things manually. This isn't doing anything that you couldn't do by hand, but it does such a great job, and it does it so quickly that it's just a tremendous time saver for you, and it's going to just kind of really anything that can then save you hours of painstakingly editing a photo and do a phenomenal job at it is really worth looking at, because it saves you time and it allows you to be more creative doing other things. All right, so it has finished up, right? And it's got all of the layers, and it's done a really nice job. Maybe I would dial back, maybe volume, I'm going to think here might be a little much. So I might want to turn volume down a little bit, and again, maybe we'll bring that down somewhere around 77%. Let's see. Bring it way down. Let's bring it up, just so we start to see a little more depth. So yeah, somewhere around 70%, I think. Looks pretty nice. How did dodge and burn do? Dodge and burn did a nice job. Skin tone did a nice job. And the volume. And what did it do to the backdrop? It looks like it really literally did nothing to the backdrop, and that's fine in this case. Like, what's to do? There's really not much to clean up there, because it's supposed to kind of be that kind of fractal kind of looking background, right? So, you know, kind of give it credit for actually not cleaning up something that didn't need to be cleaned up. So that's just one click, and let's take a look before and after. Before, after, just like that, one click, and it runs these plugins and it's done. Let's take a look at their website, and I'll show you what else they have to offer, and then we'll talk about pricing. Okay, so where can you get these plugins? It's retouch4.me. So retouch4me. You see it right here. That's the website. There are a list of tutorials on the site as well Trust me, they're there. So there's videos on how to use the product, which is nice. This is one of their newest ones, Color Match, and I will show you that in a different video, but it really doesn't fit into portrait as much. So now the only downside to these is they are a tad on the pricey side, but I can offer you 20% off through a coupon code, so that's great. And they are all sold separately. But when you add them all together, like I said, you saw what an incredible job that they can do. And there are some additional plugins that I wasn't able to show you, like the Eye Vessel, the Eye Brilliance, let's see, the White Teeth, but the really wasn't necessary for our models. Fabric, which I'm kind of interested in being able to show you in the future. The Skin Mask, Mattifier, and of course the Color Match we'll demonstrate in a different video. But so you can order these here. In the video description, I'll leave you that coupon information. And, overall, I have to say these do a really great job, and they may cost you a little bit more than, a simpler program that is kind of like a one-click solution. But I think in this case, because of the high quality that you're getting as a result of the combination of these plugins, it's worth your consideration. Honestly, I'm thrilled with the results. I think that I would choose this over probably any other system. I've tried, quite a lot of them. The On ones, Luminar Neo, which Neo does a great job, but it doesn't do all of the things to the level that these plugins can do when combined. Again, Portrait Pro kind of is a do everything type of thing, but it tends to be a bit heavy handed. And, I find that I don't get the results like this that I'm really looking for. Like this actually kind of nailed like what I would do if I was doing it by hand. And when something does that, I'm sold. So, yeah. Well, what does the tricoder say? That the plugins are fascinating. Hey, so I hope you enjoyed that video. Again, happy Star Trek Day. Thanks for watching. Please leave me a comment and let me know what your thoughts are on these plugins. Is it something that you would get? Did you think it did a great job? Because I did. And if you think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I'd like to hear your opinion. Hey, if you watch this channel, I answer almost all of your comments as best I can. Sometimes months down the road, I'm not as quick to respond, but when the videos come out, I'm kind of monitoring that as best I can, and trying to answer everybody and say hi and say thank you. So hey, even if it's just to drop me a note and say thanks for the video, I appreciate it. So I look forward to seeing you, and most importantly, thank you for watching. And if you would, please consider subscribing. Hey, I'll see you next time, YouTube. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.